Hey everyone, this is Brigie from Boujee, Texas BBQ, and today we are going to be making some low and slow Dino beef ribs. So let's get started. Good morning, friends. So the first thing we're going to want to do is prep our Dino beef ribs. To begin prepping, we're going to remove any silver skin. Do not skip this step. I'm telling you, biting into beef rib silver skin is a nasty bite, so trim off as much as you can. As I'm trimming the ribs, I can see the marbling and it looks insane. I'm so excited to smoke these. Beef ribs are definitely not the easiest to trim, but remove as much fat as you can. And unlike pork ribs, we're actually going to keep the membrane on. So just to repeat, we're only removing any unnecessary fat and silver skin. That's all we're worried about. Now that we're done trimming our ribs, the sun starts to pop out, so it's time to quickly season our ribs. Today, I'm using the Oklahoma Joe's Texas rub and a simple salt and pepper blend. Now the only reason I said quickly season is because when the sun pops out here in Texas, it gets hot very fast. Also, don't be scared to heavily season your ribs. These beef ribs can handle seasoning. Also, it's a really thick cut of beef, so extra seasoning is not gonna hurt, because honestly, we all want a flavorful bite throughout the meat. Before we add the salt and pepper blend, we're actually gonna pat this seasoning into the meat. This is gonna help build a beautiful bark. I recommend patting versus rubbing because I know it's gonna stick to the meat. We are going to repeat with the coarse salt and pepper, heavily seasoned, and then we are going to pat it into the meat. When it comes to beef, this is my favorite seasoning combo to help build a beautiful bark. Don't forget to season the side of the ribs as well. And I didn't add a binder. You can definitely add a binder if you prefer, but I really don't think it's necessary. This is how your seasoning should always look on your proteins before you throw them onto the smoker. Now it's time to add fuel to our offset. I did preheat my offset while I was prepping my ribs. When it comes to fuel, I'm using Oklahoma Joe's premium charcoal. I have roughly one large chimney worth of charcoal left in the bag, so I'm just going to add it straight to the fire. My go-to beef wood combo is going to be a 3-to-1 ratio of post oak to cherry wood. The post oak is going to give the beef ribs an amazing Texas flavor, and the cherry wood is going to give it a beautiful mahogany color. Remember friends, fire likes to climb, so build a small teepee with your wood splits. Once you are burning a clean fire, go ahead and close up your firebox and adjust the door as needed. We are going to smoke our beef ribs at 250 degrees for 4 hours undisturbed. 4 hours have finally passed. Let's go check on our ribs. Now it's time to spritz our meat. If you don't like spritzing, you can also mop, but either way we have to keep our bark moist. Keeping the bark moist prevents it from overcooking. But now we're going to continue smoking at 250 degrees for another 2 hours. We are officially in the stall. Around hour 6, your meat can definitely be in a stall. But remember, sometimes bigger proteins go into a later stall. The way I get my proteins past the stall is I bump the temp up to 275 degrees. I also like to monitor my meats during the stall. That's why I added this wireless probe so late into the cook. I'm going to continue smoking these at 275 degrees for another 2 hours or until probe tender. Also, just as a reminder, don't forget about your bark. Continue spritzing every hour until they're ready to be pulled off. Okay friends, it's time to wrap and rest. The ribs are officially probe tender. Something to keep in mind, especially with beef ribs, you can actually feel when they're ready. By applying a little bit of pressure, you can feel how the meat and the fat rendered out. I prefer not to wrap my beef ribs during the stall. I do wrap them while they're resting so the internal temp can drop slowly. In my opinion, this is a crucial step. That way all the juices inside your ribs have enough time to redistribute throughout the meat. If you slice your beef ribs too early, you run the risk of shocking the meat, and the end result will just be a tight, chewy rib, and nobody wants that. While they're resting, I'm going to place them in this insulated barbecue bag. This will also help the internal temp drop slowly. It basically works the same as an ice chest. The trick with these insulated barbecue bags is you're going to want to remove all the air and then closing it tightly. We are going to wait till our beef ribs drop to an internal temp of 150 degrees before slicing. Alright friends, so we are officially done. Our ribs are ready to slice. That long smoking session was definitely worth it. The bark was incredible. This is a prime example of why I do not wrap until they're ready to be pulled off and rest. But enough of that, let's get to slicing. And I'm telling you guys, I could have used a butter knife to cut these ribs. And let's talk about that smoke ring. It's so beautiful and juicy. Words cannot explain on how tender these ribs are. I'm so happy with the results. These ribs are a great example with a lot of patience and a well-maintained fire, and of course an Oklahoma Joe smoker can produce such an amazing result. Alright guys, that pretty much wraps up this video. If you have any questions, leave them down below. I'm off to devour these. Till next time guys, enjoy.